the one on here, but I'm making a special appearance today. I'm Beatrice, or B, the owner of Bees Detroit. We have a very, very special beehive for you today. We have Lisa with us from Sister Pie. If you're from the Detroit area, you probably know all about her. I mean, her Sister Pie is famous. I mean, she has a cookbook, she has a store, she has everything. She has the best pastries in Detroit, and we truly can't be more excited and more thankful to have her here with us today. So we are ready to get started. Connor, I'm not sure if, oh, there you go. Lisa, go ahead, take it away. Let's start with your story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started? And we just can't wait to hear all about it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. This is a nice little special break in my day. Well, I started Sister Pie back in 2012. I had been living in New York for 6 years before that, and did a little bit of cooking and baking and working as a nanny and all sorts of a variety of jobs, but really felt a connection to baking and to sort of making something and giving it to people. And that was kind of when I identified the basic skill that I had that I liked and could maybe apply to any sort of job. And so when I was working at a bakery called Milk Bar, I started to think about what I wanted to do next. And I was probably in my late 20s when that happened. And I was very unsure of what my future looked like and feeling pretty stressed about it. And so I went on a couple of trips to sort of help with that. First, I applied for a scholarship that was available through the place that I worked at to kind of go to, you could go anywhere in the world. You had to pay for your own ticket and lodging and everything, but you would get 2 weeks of pay. So you could basically create your own internship. And so I applied for it, and out of all of the places that I could go, I decided to come back to Michigan, where I'm from. And I worked for a week at Zingerman's Bakehouse and at Avalon International Breads. And I was attracted to those places not only because they were in Michigan and not only because they made good food, but because I knew that they had missions that went beyond just good food. They have triple bottom line missions, and it was really at Avalon where I first learned about what that really was. And it started to get the wheels turning in my head, maybe about what was missing in my New York life with baking. Maybe it was this greater purpose in running a business that's not just about, the one thing that you're selling. And so I kind of took that experience with me back to New York, thought about it some more, and I ended up going on a trip to San Francisco. It was my first time in California, and I visited these worker-owned, cooperative-style bakeries and restaurants and grocery stores, and I was really impressed and inspired by that, and could kind of see this connection back to what I saw happening in Detroit and around Detroit. And that was really interesting to me to kind of make that connection. And it was when I was there that I decided to move back to Michigan and start a business. So I moved in with my parents maybe like 5 months after that, right into my childhood bedroom, which I was very, very grateful to have the invitation to do. And also the invitation to test a bunch of pies and cookies in their kitchen, which I only set on fire one time, and everything was fine, but it was pretty stressful in the moment. And so I started the business and launched it for Thanksgiving of that year, 2012. Sold pies to family and friends, kind of continued to work on my business plan and develop recipes throughout the next year. And then I moved myself personally to Detroit and the business in 2013 for the second Thanksgiving. I started working out of a shared commercial kitchen space in Midtown called Hannon House. I gained an eager intern who is now my longest standing employee, Angie Bardo. And we continued to make more pie, make more cookies, and get wholesale accounts around town. One of which was at this place, Parker Street Market, which is a market that used to be across the street from where we are now. My friends opened it, and they told me that I could kind of bring whatever I wanted to bring to sell and just sort of use it as my testing ground. And so I definitely did, and brought tons of scones and muffins and hand pies. I even volunteered to work there one day a week so that I could interact with customers and meet neighbors. And through that, learned that not only did I really love the neighborhood in the area, but that people in the neighborhood in the area were interested in having us open up our full operation there, which was an extremely important part of our decision for which neighborhood we would eventually open up in. And just so happened that there was a corner shop across the street available for rent, and we started building it out first by just like peeling wallpaper and digging up floor tiles with our friends. And then eventually we won the Hatch Detroit contest, which gave us a $50,000 grant to apply toward the build out. We, took out some non-traditional loans. We did a 24-hour dance marathon where I personally danced for 24 hours straight, and we raised over $26,000. And then we opened on April 24th, 2015, and have been pretty much hustling ever since. We usually have an average of about 16 employees on staff. They're all trained to bake, do dishes, and serve customers. Of course, many of them aren't here right now, sadly, but that's kind of how our bakery business functions. And I came out with the cookbook in October of 2018. Been a really cool opportunity to kind of spread the Sister Pie word and food recipes across the country, especially given that we don't really have any intentions for shipping or opening multiple locations. So that's been a way for us to kind of increase our reach. And now we're here today in the pandemic, figuring it out one day at a time. It wasn't in my business plan, as I'm sure it wasn't in anyone's, but I'm learning a lot and interested, especially to see how the business will pivot and change once we come out of this and continue in our new normal.
Wow, well, that is quite the story. I mean, I feel like you guys have been climbing this mountain and you're just going up and up and up. We loved watching you grow. I mean, your cookbook, especially, I actually gave it to my mother in law for Mother's Day, and she loved it. She's in Iowa. So I love that you're spreading your pies, across the country. You have so much great experience and you have so much real life experience. Like, what kind of advice would you give to entrepreneurs, especially right now dealing with everything with the pandemic?
Take advantage of this time. I used to, speaking of fires, I used to, like, when I first opened Sister Pie, I used to have nightmares about the shop burning down. Like, it was kind of my business owner anxiety trigger. Like, I would just wake up thinking that it was on fire. And I think it was this fear that I had worked towards something and that in a second it could just all be taken away from me. But I remember listening to another business owner who kind of went through a rock bottom crisis and said, this was an opportunity for me to kind of come back to my business and keep the things that were really working and that I liked and take away the things that weren't working in the first place. And so that's how I'm trying to look at it now. And that's definitely how I encourage people to look at it. This is a very challenging time for employees and employers and really everyone. But in terms of your business, it's also a time to reassess what your role is in society, what you can provide as a business, what's working for you, what's not working for you. I'm trying to take advantage of that as much as I can while also kind of running a grocery store. But I'm learning from that. And so I think soaking up whatever you can learn, whether that's, sitting around meditating about what's going on with your business or what you want it to be, or, being involved in it. I'm kind of looking at it as an opportunity to try out some different things, and with sort of like this feeling of there's no expectation that I continue to do it this way. Like I can be a grocery store right now and see how that works, but everyone's in this together, so we all can sort of be more forgiving of the changes that the businesses are going through, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like your grocery store concept is doing great. Is that something you plan to keep when life kind of returns to normal, or do you have? I mean, can you even think that far ahead? Do you have any plans for what life will look like when you guys open back up again?
Well, I think I've definitely been able to start to look more ahead than I had maybe a month ago, when it was really just let's get through every single day. But before, about a year ago, we had actually been planning for an expansion that would include a small grocery store within it. Not even really something that you could call a grocery store, more of like a little market option. Like if you've ever been to Zingerman's Bakehouse, they have like a nice little option to buy, some seasonal items, but also some of the flours that they bake with, kind of like complements their cookbook. So pretty inspired by that, and also wanting to kind of just be a resource of fresh foods for the neighborhood. But those plans kind of got sidelined, both with COVID and other things. And now we've sort of been, this again was this chance to say, well, let me explore this grocery store thing. And I think what's been interesting is the change from operating as a business that people go to for pleasure and fun into a business that feels more essential, and I've met more neighbors and more people in our community this way, and have been able to gain a better understanding of what their basic daily needs are as opposed to what their cookie flavor preference is. And both have value, of course, but it's been really cool, and I think I see it as a sustainable way for businesses to move going forward, especially food businesses, to be able to function locally in their communities as a place where people can go when we are forced to stay close to home, because I don't anticipate this going away fully. Really, I have no idea when that would be. It might just be a new normal. So I'm definitely interested in kind of what a hybrid model of what we've done before and what we're doing now could be, even if that's just for the rest of the year or for the rest of Sister Pie's life. We'll see.
Well, I love your optimism. I mean, it sounds like you guys have just been adapting and changing in the best ways, and you guys have such a loyal following. I'm sure all of your fans, including myself, will be back to support you when you can open up again. And I'm excited to see what you guys do moving forward. But switching gears a little bit, I was so excited to read about your James Beard nomination. Do you have any thoughts? Are you so excited? Are you surprised? I mean, I think you're so deserving. I think everyone here thinks this is, a perfect fit. Of course, you should win. What was going through your head when you found out about that?
It was very strange this year to have that kind of inserted into everything else, because as soon as all of this started happening, an award ceremony is kind of the last thing from your mind, especially when we're talking about essential items and businesses and activities. I feel grateful to have the recognition both for, I think, Detroit and getting Michigan sort of represented in the James Beard Awards. I only wish that there were more Detroit businesses that kind of made it to this final round with me. But I think right now it feels, I guess the story I tell myself is that we're recognized for our commitment to our mission and our commitment to being a community-minded business. I mean, yes, I think our pie is, good and everything too, but I'm hopeful that that's what gets people's attention, is that we're kind of approaching our business from a lot of different angles that can really work to serve people while maintaining profit and being kind to the planet as much as you can. And I'm hopeful that those types of messages and those types of business models will continue to inspire and evolve and grow. And any representation that those businesses can get, I think, on the pedestal of a James Beard Award situation is awesome, because I think that if there's one thing that's really happening right now in the food industry is that, essential changes are needed. They've always been needed, both from the people who support small businesses and restaurants. The customers need to maybe grow and develop and change the ways that they approach their relationships with their food suppliers, but also within small businesses, the value that is given to employees and to creating, systems that kind of work for a lot of different folks. I see that all kind of tied up in being a good platform, like the James Beard Awards maybe being a good platform for that, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes total sense. Yes. Well, I mean, that's about it on my end. I'm going to open it up now to see if anyone has any questions. So everybody, if you'd like, there's a question and answer. I believe it's in the bottom of your screen. You can just type in your question, or if you'd like to raise your hand and actually speak, we'll find a way to get that question to Lisa. Let's see, it looks like we have one right now from David. David says, I've been burned a lot by people I worked with in the past. Now my walls are high and not trusting people. I know gut feelings play a part, and I try to give people a chance. Have you ever been burned / hustled in the past, and how did you deal with it?
Is there a place where I can read this question? Oh, I see it. Yeah. I'm wondering, is he asking this question as a business owner?
David, if you're here, I believe we can unmute you if you'd like to speak. If not, why don't you just... Oh, there it is. David. David, I think just unmute yourself now.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Yeah, so this is actually the business. From a business standpoint, I just been, I feel like I have a kind soul, but I feel like people kind of take advantage of it. So I kind of been burned quite a bit, and my walls are, just really not trusting people as much anymore.
Would you mind elaborating a little bit on what being burned is?
So, certain deal, so for instance, I actually emailed you a little while ago about kitchen space.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So one of the kitchens that I've worked with, I just kind of got completely hustled. Some wholesale accounts I've got burned from people that, either owe me money or, didn't follow through on the promises they made. And another one was like a business partner that just completely went south. So, yeah, I've been kind of restarting quite a bit.
That sounds like an overwhelming situation for you, and I can imagine it's been very stressful dealing with disappointments like that. I think I've certainly experienced my own set of disappointments and struggles throughout the years, and what's been really helpful for me is kind of having like a guidebook for yourself. So, we take that from our mission statement, we take that from the handbook that we give to employees, but sort of setting what your own standards and boundaries are, and then making sure that, you explain those to the people that you're working with, and having to maybe not, back down from them when you are faced with a tough decision, or when you are faced with a moment where someone might be about to burn you. I think maybe it's a little tough to answer without knowing like your whole story, but I do think that for myself, kind of creating for myself what my own standards are for my relationships with people in business, that kind of informs and dictates how that then happens. And so I think understanding like you want to be a kind soul and you want to be empathetic and give people the chances that they need, but you also, if you're not running your business effectively, if you're not able to pay your bills, then you don't have a business anymore. So you have to figure out kind of what the balance is there. And I tell you, I'm struggling with that all of the time, especially when it comes to employees and wanting to, sometimes I wish I could just run a bakery where everything was free and everyone who worked here made $1 million, but that's not quite the business that I've chosen. So I have to work really hard within this business and within this model to make something that works both for my, bleeding heart, but also how does that work within a real world where there's, consequences and boundaries that need to be made.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That helps. Actually got one more question if you don't mind.
Sure.
I mean, and this could be like for both of you. So like I'm in the process of just, trying to meet new people and connect, and I've done some research, and there's so many places to like go and meet people, and time is very valuable. And how do you find the good places to network with people? Like, where are the places in Detroit to kind of connect and build?
And you said you have a food business, right?
Yeah. So my business, Detroit Protein Bar.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure Beatrice has some thoughts too, but Food Lab Detroit was a major resource and still is for me a great community of food businesses who are a lot of them working toward triple bottom line business or missions, but have also just gathered so many different folks in the community to kind of pool knowledge and resources. And that would be a first step that I kind of recommend to all people who are starting food businesses in the city of Detroit, because they've done a lot of work and research and put a lot of hours into kind of figuring out what those resources and helpful are. So I would visit them and check that out.
Yeah, and I don't want this to sound like a selfish plug, but we are a co-working space located in Eastern Market, so it doesn't get better for networking and being surrounded by great food vendors.
Yeah, I follow you. I watch you guys do the whole build out. It looks really nice. I plan to definitely come on by when kind of get back to normal.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And we're kind of in a, unique position. I don't know if you're familiar, but we actually started a lemonade company called Bees Squeeze. And that was just a happy accident. We, since we were, building out this whole space and it was taking longer than we expected, we wanted to find a way to, still stay relevant and get our name out there last summer. So we purchased a little piece of land on the DeQuinder Cut and we set up a little lemonade stand called Bees Squeeze. And it was really just intended as a marketing installation for bees to draw people in, entice lemonade and then trap them and tell them about our co-working space. But it totally exceeded our expectations. And now we're working with distributor and a couple distributors. We're in 11 states now, and it's really growing and just totally taking off, exceeding all of our expectations. So if you ever want to chat, I have a tiny fraction of experience in the food world compared to Lisa, but I'd be happy to share my experience. And, we have a lot of great food brands here in our space, and even just so many great people in the market. So love to chat more and have you stop by.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely love it. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you answering the question.
You're so welcome. Lisa, there's also a couple more questions now in the chat. First person says, what was the biggest business decision you've had to make?
Oh boy. How much time you got? Honestly, figuring out what to do with the COVID stuff was certainly some of just like all of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But, that's sort of super, super relevant to just this moment. So, I guess everything has I've sort of like taken steps very slowly. And so no single decision has felt that huge or scary. And I guess, so I'll sort of reframe your question into a piece of advice, if that's okay, which is just that, or just sort of like a reflection, which is that in taking my business slowly and kind of starting, in my parents' kitchen or your home kitchen or whatever, and then, taking it one step further and then taking it one step further and then again and again, allowed me to be really, really mindful throughout the whole process of the decisions. And so I don't feel like there's ever really been a decision that felt so hard that I was sitting on it for days and days and days. I've certainly made plenty of hard decisions about in the day-to-day moments with employees and with pies and all that stuff. But I think in terms of like the bigger business decisions, it's been a slow process. And so it's always felt more natural.
Yeah, and I think that's, great advice, not only for food business, but for any business. That's the way you build, a strong foundation, which is truly the most important thing. Next question. What is your favorite thing to bake at work when you're not working?
What is my favorite thing to bake at work when I'm not working? Interesting.
Or maybe bake at home too. Do you bake much at home? Does it feel like a job at home? You still enjoy it?
Because I didn't really bake a lot at home, but then COVID hit and I started baking a lot at home, which was kind of a surprise to me because I did always used to feel kind of burned out from it, even when I wasn't exactly the one doing all the baking here. It's just I would go home and just want to lay on my couch and pet my dog for a really long time. But I like to bake scones a lot. I like baking them here and I like making them at home. I think I like that it's a very, it's not like a multi-step process like pie. Scones, you can just mix the scones in a bowl. One single bowl is all you need, and then you can pop them right in the oven. There's something that is very satisfying to the naturally impatient baker I am, even though I've had to learn how to be very patient, which has come in handy as I, along with pretty much everyone else in America, has started making sourdough bread at home. And so that's something that I've been working on, and I never really felt like I had the ability to do it. I just thought, I'm just not good at that. Like, I'm good at pie, but I'm not good at this. And it's been a great lesson in that if I follow a recipe and if I really listen to the timing instructions, that I can do most things. And so can anyone baking at home. You just have to really follow the basic rules in the recipe, and then, use your improvisation skills later on to have a good handle for it.
That is a great answer. Hopefully that answered their question as well.
I know, I'm kind of going all over the place with these answers. But.
No, it's all helpful. Next up is from Kara. She says, how do you see the role of small businesses helping Detroit to rebound from this pandemic and continue to rebuild?
I just have someone here to pick up produce, so I'm just petting my... Okay, great. We have these produce bags that we've been giving. Yeah. Real time. I'm going to have to read that question.
Okay, no problem. It's just regarding small businesses.
Yeah. I really see that. I really think that the support is going to need to come from the patrons of the small businesses, not so much the small businesses themselves. Certainly small businesses are doing, so many of them, what they can right now to stay afloat. But I think what's really going to need to happen is that the people who come to the businesses are going to need to be ready for the changes that might have to happen, ready to be respectful and wear masks and keep distant, and ready to help those businesses survive and succeed throughout this very trying time. Because, of course, then the businesses can continue to support the economy and provide jobs and do what small businesses do best. But first, we're going to need a lot of support from everyone, whether it's, getting money from the government or just having an understanding from an employee or from a customer who's, coming in expecting pie, that maybe we might not even have pie that day because we are having trouble getting all of our staff back, or, whatever it may be. There's going to be a long period of adjustment, and I don't think that the expectation that you can just walk into a business that you've loved and that it's going to be the same as it was before this is going to work. So I think what I'm really asking for is that support, and I hope that a lot of people can give that flexibility and understanding to small businesses. Once again, a question that I completely changed in my answer, but I hope that's okay.
I say it's okay. I couldn't agree more. We're counting on all you guys to come support, your Detroit local businesses. But Detroit has always had such a great following. I think I read somewhere that Michigan, there's no state that loves their own state more than Michigan. And that goes double for Detroit. So I have no doubt that, we'll be back and we'll be strong. And just like Lisa said, it's just going to take time. So please be patient with us. Looks like we have one last question, unless anyone else wants to type something in. This is a good one. First off, I love the Sister Pie brand, especially your social media presence. During Thanksgiving, you showcase some sweet dance moves. What is your favorite song to dance to?
And it changes every day. I really like dancing to like 80s new wave. That's sort of more of a genre. Because I don't think I could ever pick one particular song. But yeah, like I like dancing to like New Order and Talking Heads, although that's not really new wave. Anyway, I just love dancing to things where there's lots of like opportunities to do like some really like isolated movements, sort of like this kind of stuff or whatever. I'm just gonna display my dance moves. But yeah, that's sort of what I like the best. Yeah.
Great answer.
I also really love dancing to Lizzo.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly.
Another question just popped in. Would you
Okay.
consider expanding to cities besides Detroit, even surrounding cities to Detroit? If so, why?
No. No. I that's kind of one of the things that I don't really anticipate us doing. If anything, there have been times where I've thought about, oh, what would happen if I opened another location like up north or, somewhere that was like not within driving distance in a regular day from Sister Pie, if that makes sense. But also, I really want to keep Sister Pie in one place as much as possible. And so maybe if we opened another concept of something in Detroit, that would be something to consider. But I don't see us going outside of the city of Detroit. The only ways that I would see us doing that is if once we're able to expand a little bit, if we can get some good wholesale accounts going to perhaps, some grocery stores in Metro Detroit, etc., then we'd be able to maybe expand our reach. But I don't see us expanding our actual, storefront.
Great answer. I think everyone selfishly just wants Sister Pie to, come to their neighborhoods too. So you can't blame them.
Totally. I appreciate the love.
If you want to peek in, there's some other questions that just popped in about a book fest that you participated in.
Oh, yeah. About the Rage Baking book.
Yes. Feel free to go ahead and answer those questions.
Sure. So, what that pie girl is the person who asked the question is referring to is I was part of a recipe collaboration book called Rage Baking that featured a lot of different kind of famous women in the food world and recipes kind of as a response to a lot of different things. But I would say like namely the 2016 election and a lot of people turning to baking as a way to process that. And it included a great list of folks, business owners, bloggers, writers, and I guess there was some other people who had used the term rage baking before the book came out, and one of them was a woman named Tangerine Jones who had an Instagram handle and a website called Rage Baking, and it hadn't been approached about the book or really notified of it until the book was already, basically, I think at the printers, if not already printed. And so there was a real question raised about, kind of who has ownership of titles and and Tangerine Jones is a woman of color, and was she perhaps not included or not taken seriously about the work that she had been doing. And there's a lot more that I really can't summarize in this Q&A, but I definitely recommend that if you haven't read about it, that you read Tangerine Jones's article on Medium. It kind of goes into a lot of it. The point is, I did have some good interactions with the editors since it's happened, and I think just as we were starting to get to a point where we were maybe going to continue to have some good productive conversations about it, that's when everything with COVID hit, and so it kind of really took a back seat. So I think that's a conversation that will be revisited maybe at a later time. And that's really all I have to say about that.
Great.
And do I have any regrets in participating in the book? I think I learned a lot. I'm very proud to be featured amongst such a group of women and their recipes, and like it feels really cool to be a part of that and to be able to open the book and see everything that people contributed and lots of really great essays. I think it actually opened my eyes a lot just from being an author about, you know, that you always have an opportunity to be a little bit lazier with the research and the homework that you do. And I don't even mean to say lazy, like, you know, not thinking about it, but that it takes work especially as a white person, you have to put in the extra work to understand where your privilege could be playing in. And that's not going to come naturally to you all of the time because it's not how you were raised. And so I'm focusing on how I can be an anti-racist in everything that I do, knowing that I'm certainly failing at it, you know, and I have failed at it throughout my life at various points, but making sure that that's active work in everything that you do, whether it's writing a book or managing your staff or interacting with your neighbors. If you want to be actively thinking about that, you need to incorporate it into your daily life. And so that's something, this is just another example for me of how much more work there is to be done and what my personal responsibility and obligation is to do that.
Very, very great advice, Lisa. Next question is from Carly, a little bit lighter now. Hi, Lisa. You are so cool. Can the cookbook be purchased at the shop? I know you were doing Mother's Day pickup. Are there any still available? Would love to buy a copy.
Well, the 12-year-old in me just got really excited that you called me cool. So thank you. Yeah, we have some at the shop. I think I have like 10 or 11 of them right now, with maybe another shipment coming in soon. So if you did want to purchase one, you could email us at hello@sisterpie.com and we can arrange a time for you to come get one this week if you want.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. And should we just go on to the next one?
Yeah, next question. What general advice do you have for someone that wants to start a small business from scratch?
I think really listen to the people around you. Think about what they want. You know, it's about finding that perfect balance of like coming up with an idea or a product or a service that is uniquely you and that you can feel passionate about and wake up every day and want to do, but then also being able to take whatever that passion is and share it with the world. And by share it, I don't just mean sell it to them or say present it on a platter and say here's what it is. I think especially in a changing business world, you know, we really need to be thinking about what the people around us want. And so I like to focus on my general neighborhood as kind of the yardstick for how I measure what I do. And so if a neighbor comes to me and says, you need to make more hand pies because you're always running out of hand pies before 11 a.m., then I know that that's like a neighbor who told me that. You know, that's not someone who drove 2 hours away and they're mad because, you know, they didn't get a hand pie in time. That's like someone who I should be serving, who I should be able to serve every single day. And so being open to that advice and being open to maybe, you know, maybe I thought that I would start making cookies that had all these crazy weird ingredients and people would just love them because I worked at, you know, a famous bakery or something. But the truth of the matter is, what matters the most is that my customers want what I have to offer, and that there can be this sort of harmony in what creatively fulfills me as a baker and a business owner and what people want. And I think there's a really good way to do that, and can be the cause for a lot of good humility that is an essential ingredient to any business.
Great advice. Looks like we have one last question. What is the best business book you both have read? Oh, I guess that's for me as well. You want to?
Well, I would say, I mean, the Zingerman's books are incredible. I love them, and I'm so inspired by everything I've ever read from Ari. And what's great about reading the Zingerman's books is that they are both of them, Ari and Paul, are just like the most, talk about community oriented. Like they will meet with you, they will hop on the phone with you, they will give so many business owners advice. And the fact that we live within such a close radius from them is a true, I mean, I just feel so grateful for it. And that's my answer.
Well, and it's so funny you say that. I mean, I actually went to University of Michigan, so I'm a huge Zingerman's fan. I was lucky enough. I took a positive psychology class, and I believe they came in and they actually were able to teach us a couple lessons. And it was wonderful. So I love them. I'm going to switch gears and do a podcast instead because I know everyone loves podcasts. I love the How I Built This podcast by Guy Raz. I love learning from experience. I mean, I always say I'm so blessed because, everyone knows my husband Eli runs this business with me, and he's very traditional business school numbers. And I'm the total opposite. I'm the out of the box, crazy ideas, and I learn through experience more than just, reading some instructions from a book. So I love hearing their stories. It's all companies that you recognize, and you'd be really surprised to hear how some people started from nothing and really built, some great things. And I think that's it. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to pop in. Lisa, if you have any parting advice or thoughts you want to share with everyone.
Thank you for listening to my stream of consciousness answers. And I love any opportunity to be able to kind of pause for a moment and reflect. And it's times like these and situations like these that allow us to do that. And so I'm grateful for everyone who came today and wanted to listen and ask questions. It's great to feel this sense of community, especially right now. So thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for joining us. And, thank you for all of our Beehive members. I know we had a lot of new faces, so I hope that everyone enjoyed, a little taste of what the Beehive has to offer. In case you don't know, we're a virtual co-working community, and we have different programming every day. Today was a little extra special, but every Monday does start off with a guest speaker, some sort of educational topics. We have different, wellness and just discussion opportunities throughout the week. We have networking opportunities. We pair you up with a different Hive mate for some one-on-one connections, and we even have weekly competitions and prizes. So it's really fun. If anyone wants to join and they're not currently part of the Beehive, feel free to sign up through our website and use a special discount code SisterPie for $5 off your first month of membership. We'd love to have you, and I mean, this is what we're all about: helping small businesses. And there's no better, person to learn from than Lisa. We're so thankful to have you here today, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Well, great. I think that wraps it up. Everyone have a great week. Hopefully, it warms up a little bit here in Michigan. It's looking good for the end of the week. I think it's gonna maybe hit 70, which is about time because it is the middle of May. But everyone have a great week. Hope that you feel inspired, you feel encouraged. I mean, you can do it. We're getting there. We're getting through this quarantine. Be strong.